Hello, fam. It's your girl, Natalie, the Keto Bikini Pro with the Keto Bikini Body. And I have a special guest with me today. This is the first of hopefully many interviews I'll be doing with clients who have had some wild success in many different ways. Um, and so Marie is here with me today to share about her journey working with me over the last 6 months. She is a shining success story, and I'm looking forward to diving in with her about what this whole experience was like, to give you all a little bit of a window into the world of what it's like to work with a coach privately and work with me specifically, and the kind of success you can get if you show up the way that my clients are showing up, my clients who are getting the kind of results that you want. So Marie is here with us from the West Coast. Um, Before we dive into all the questions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So basically, I've been doing a keto diet for about 4 years. I and be, When I first started that journey, I wasn't very active, but I knew that I was at a point where I had to do something, and that was the only thing that had worked for me. So fast forward about 3-ish years of being pretty much strictly keto, I started thinking I need to get to the next level. And I was having a lot of trouble. I started running. But when I started running, I don't know if it was probably a combination, but I was eating too much or too little. And those things just were offsetting each other or netting each other out. I wasn't seeing any results, which was extremely frustrating. And so kind of I kept with my diet for the most part, but I was just like to the point where I was so lost at what to do because I wanted to keep my diet, but there's so much information on the internet, too much information. I couldn't make sense of it anymore either. So that's when I knew that I was at the point in my journey where I needed help from somebody who knew how to do it and how to do it on a carb restricted diet or a low carb diet, which there's still, you know, there's a lot of people who do it, but it's still not in the forefront of,
Right.
you know, weight loss nutrition. Um, and then can I tell the story about how I found you?
Yeah, sure. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I had been making that Maria Emmerich protein bread, and I bought the protein whites from the Keto Chow, and they sent me a bunch of supplemental flyers and stuff when I got the delivery. And I was going through Instagram looking at all the people who were at the Salt Lake City KetoCon that year. And so I was just looking at everybody's Instagram, and I got to Bronson's, and I was like, okay, he's a trainer. This is what I sort of like in line with what I'm looking for, somebody who's doing like physical fitness and a ketogenic diet. But then he started posting pictures of you, and then you're like, bikini, like keto. And I'm like, well, I want to wear a bikini. So I started following you more closely. And then I saw like that you had like, your training, and you had a free consultation. And that's like kind of when I decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna like take her up on her 30-minute like free consultation and just see how it goes, because I am like so desperate. Yeah. And then I think we hit it off pretty well. And you were, you know, saying things that intuitively I knew, but also like things I think I needed to hear about the program. And um, yeah, so it was a good experience and a good match, like from the start, I would
We
say.
definitely had a vibe from the
Yeah.
first call, and we have had such a great, like, I definitely feel like I have a friend now. Like, and that's always my favorite thing is when, when I get on a call with a potential client it's kind of like a let's feel each other out and see if this feels like a good fit. And most of my clients feel like friends because it's like you can come here, you can talk to me about anything. We can just vibe on a real level. I can tell you straight up like what you need to hear. We've had some hard conversations. I'd love
Yes.
for everybody to get a feel for kind of like where you're coming from, right?
Yes.
Share with us like your age, what you do for a living, you have kids, you're married, like a little bit about your life.
Yeah. So, I just turned 40 this year, which was also kind of a pushing point for me because I'm getting older, but I still I'm not old and I didn't really feel old. So I wanted to see really if I could push myself. Um, and I have two kids. They are 15 and 17, both boys. So
Hey,
I had
mom.
my kid, yeah, yeah. I had my kids young and they're at an age where, their problems are maybe a little more difficult in some ways. And, so I mean, I've even had to talk to you about things involving my kid.
Yeah, your son getting ready to graduate and how that
Yeah,
was feeling and
yeah,
major life changes.
yeah. So there's some life changes. And I've been married for 20 years. I celebrated my 20-year wedding anniversary. And so my husband's always been pretty supportive. And once, even now, he's seen all my success and now he's taken on more of a keto lifestyle and I'm helping him with that. And I'm helping him with exercise. And of course, he's had great results because he's already super muscular. So he drops so much instantly. But I mean, guys, I guess I don't know what to say about that biology.
They do. But the coolest thing is that you're paying it forward. You're
Yeah.
taking what you learned. You've never been pushy about it. Like we've talked about that a lot too, of just the way you've incorporated it into you are the primary meal planner and prepper for your family. You're doing the cooking, you're doing the grocery shopping. So I think you're a beautiful example of what can happen when you take ownership over that role and you say, this is what I'm doing, and I can start to. You already started incorporating it into what you were doing with your family in small ways, up
Yeah.
until now, and now you're doing even more of it, and even with your kids, which is the coolest thing, and can be a very difficult thing to do with teenagers.
Yeah. And then beyond that, I'm an accountant. I have a very sedentary job. Um,
Which
but
can be very stressful and very
yeah, and it's a
time-consuming.
stressful job. Yeah, we're a publicly traded company I work for. So every month is a close. I'm always it's month end, Natalie. It's always month end. It feels like
Exactly.
anyway, that's how I feel. And
So
then
you mean
quarterly
to tell
filings.
me that
Yeah.
like you didn't wait until everything in your life was just calm and peaceful and perfect to sign up for
Mhm.
coaching?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no.
Like through your anniversary, you went on vacations,
Mhm.
you went on an anniversary trip. You've had all kinds of events, travel, things happening throughout our time
Yes.
together. Wasn't it?
I am.
I'm looking at 6 months where nothing's going to happen in my life and everything's going to be perfect. So now's the perfect time to start.
Yeah. And my I do a lot of interdepartmental sorts of tasks or initiatives. So I'm always in a position where I'm social. I do a lot of social things at work. I do a lot of social things. I'm a social person. So and that can be a pitfall, but through the working with you and just becoming more consistent and comfortable with myself, I've really learned how to balance these social things. So I'm still doing them. I'm still doing everything that I want to do. It's just my mindset now has kind of evolved to allow me to do things that I love, but still remember if I do this, there's this might happen or this is going to happen. So I just have to think about the balance.
And that
So
is something that I think I've been complimenting you on from pretty early on. The way that you took this on and you owned it and looked at everything as a, well, I can either have the results I want or I can compromise. And if I compromise, then I know I'm not going to get there or not get there as quickly, which
yeah.
was definitely a theme for us, right? Like you wanted to get there, you want to get there tomorrow. So
Yes.
we worked from the beginning on this patience, right? Being
Yeah.
a major
Um,
thing.
yeah. I think because at the end with the assessment that we kind of like, I guess you'll you'll get an assessment if you work with Natalie at the end of everything you did. So to drive it home, like as I was going through, I at the end I was like, this is more of a mental transformation than a physical one. I didn't realize going into it how mental it was going to be.
Mhm.
Um, but my mindset has completely evolved. And a big part of it is because once you start seeing results, you want more and it gives you that drive. But my mind had to be set properly. And um, it's funny because at the beginning, you had to talk me down so many times. I would just go on like these spirals of like, this isn't gonna happen. Like it just wasn't happening fast enough. And what one thing I would definitely say is it took 4 months before 4 months of pure consistency, 4 months of doing the work without really seeing any like true result, just keep trusting the process because it was like I'm not seeing anything. I could feel I'm getting stronger. I am dropping a little bit of weight, but this isn't like really like my end goal. This isn't where I want to be. So I felt defeating in some ways. But um now around 4 months, that's when I started to see like, you know what, my body is responding to this. My body is doing this. But if you don't ever give yourself a chance by being consistent, you're never going to know. It just,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And every step of the way I kept, because from a coach's perspective, we get to see things objectively. So I'm looking at the data and you were spot on consistent with your check-ins. So I always had data to go by to say, she's losing at a perfect rate. And I kept telling you, you're losing at a perfect rate. And just to kind of explain, I didn't say this at the beginning, but y'all, over 6 months, she's lost over 20 pounds with me. And when you started with me, there was a number you had in your head that you're like, I can never get below this number. We got
yeah,
below that number, I want to say halfway in, and it was like, how am I already past that number? But
yeah,
you still weren't feeling and seeing it so much in your body yet. And I had to do
yeah,
a lot of like, well, look back at the beginning and compare your photos, and you'd say, okay, I can see a little bit. But then as we kept going, and now y'all, I have to brag on her with the data, because the data doesn't lie. She's lost over 20 pounds of pure body fat. She has maintained her lean mass, actually went up by a pound in lean mass. So we got some recomp going on there. You dropped your body fat percentage, you maintained your lean mass, you dropped 21 pounds, and it was
mhm,
purely body fat. So to be in the place where she is now, she's in a much better place metabolically, strength wise, the things she's capable of doing. She also, and we'll get into this a little bit, but learned a lot, asked a lot of questions as we were going so that she could understand all this for herself. Which the reason why I'm doing she's my first interview is because it's such a perfect example of what I want all my clients to experience, which is graduating from me, being able to pay it forward. That doesn't mean you can never work with me together. We've talked about future goals she has, and she may want to do another 6 months to work on something specific. We're still in communication, and we're still in a client coach relationship where I'm able to
yeah,
support, but on a different level, because she's really taking she's taken the training wheels off and she's doing it. Like she knows and understands the concepts and asked all the right questions along the way so that she could understand the concepts so that she can pedal on her own. So that's my whole goal is knowledge is potential power, taking the knowledge and then implementing it and then making it your own. So you're a beautiful, shining example of being the CEO of your journey.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one of the biggest wins out of the whole training situation is that, like, yes, I got to my goal and beyond, but I also feel like I have this arsenal of like information that I garnished through our meetings together, like mentally just how to address my mood swings. Like, so, knowing like not to despair because the scale went up like a pound, or that one time where it went up 5 pounds for no reason out of nowhere. I was just like, what happened? Like, that was like a catastrophe. And on my own, that could have been a huge setback. But because I had,
What
but
stopped you?
yeah. And now I know, better how to just manage mentally when I have these increases and know they're not permanent. And just once again, back to that consistency where I know that, yes, it's going to go up, but I'm going to start seeing it drive down again.
Right,
So,
because you know you're doing the right things. You know that you're
yeah,
not doing anything that would have made that happen. So you have the confidence of, I know that I'm doing the right thing, and if I keep doing
right.
this,
Yeah.
well, I
And right. And then just the strength training, and like I have like a program now, and you've taught me how to like do things in a certain way, and I add like little things here and there to target extra areas that I just happen to want to work on like at this given time. But I've learned enough to like be able to make some programs for my husband to do with the equipment we have, targeting certain areas. Like, yeah, I know so much more. And then nutrition, we're always going back and forth about recipes, and that's how like it's like a friend relationship now, because I'm like, look at this recipe, or
Yep,
and
we
she's
have a
like, oh, I
blast
did
talking about food.
this. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's I'm a totally different person now than I was 6 months ago, even as far as like waking up in the morning. Like I wake up early. Like I never thought I was a morning person. And that wasn't totally unintended, like
Side
byproduct
effect is
of
what,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
happy side effect is what I like to call those.
Yeah. And then I remember like I would always, my husband fishes and he loves it, and he wakes up so early to go fishing, and I would always tell him I don't love anything as much as I love sleep. I just cannot wake up that early to go do anything. But the funny thing is now I wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning just so that I could run early. Or and at one point you actually had to pull me back from exercising so much.
Yep.
So if I could also share like one of my little philosophies for people, because you helped me to do this too. Just you were like, what can you commit to at the beginning? How many days a week can you commit to? What is the time frame you could commit to? And I think I said like it was like 4 days a week, right? I was like 4 days a week I can do something, and probably about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And you gave me those programs, which I still actually like, it's kind of still in that range.
Mhm.
But I tell people just pick something and stick to it, because once you start seeing results, you'll want to do more and you'll figure out how to get that more into your schedule. So, I work out 6 days a week now, whether it be I'm running again because I love it, but I'm doing more strength training, but I have more targeted running goals because I'm going to do a race.
This is a cool thing too to talk about that when we started together, I think one of the first things I said was, well, are you going to be okay letting go of the running? Because to get the body you really want, we are going to have to cut back on that cardio and replace that with strength training.
Yeah.
And I have to commend you because you were like, you know what? I'm ready to do whatever it's going to take to get the results that I want. And I love my running, but we talked about it, and at first we scaled it back and then it came out completely, and then you had
Yeah.
this new goal of running this race, and now you're able to put it back strategically. We talked a little bit through, like, please don't have 7 days of training without a rest day.
Yeah.
But now you're improving on your runs and you're seeing how
Mhm.
even the strength training is benefiting something you love to do.
Yeah. And they complement each other, and like running isn't my sole source of
Exercise.
fitness and exercise. Yeah. So it's just something I do because I enjoy it. And it's actually one of those things where, like, my social things, like now instead of everything being revolving around eating, it's like, let's go do this run. So I have a group
That
of
was another
people.
thing. You're doing it with your
Yeah.
family, right? So you're able to
Yeah.
bring others in with you.
Yeah. So I have a group of people to do this with, and I'm always looking for ways to add like exercise. I'm going to Las Vegas for work this week, and I was telling my boss I'm going to be in the gym at 6 o'clock, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go too." So I like have like 2 or 3 people that want to go to the gym at like 6 a.m. in the morning.
That
So
is
it's like,
awesome.
yeah, it's a part of my personal culture now because it's just become so important to me.
You've
And
really changed your identity.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a different Marie than like 6 months ago for sure. When I reached out to you, it was purely aesthetic, but just all the benefits. I mean, I feel better. I'm much smaller. I was already like a pretty relatively normal size, even when I started with you for my height. But now it's just like I want to see how far I can take my body because I see you when you're doing your prep now and like how far you've been able to take yourself. And I'm like motivated by that because I'm like, she's taught me how to do this for myself too.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I can continue to do it as long as I just even like as recently as a couple weeks ago, I was like, should I do something different? You're like, I'm not really doing anything all that different. I'm like, just stay the course then. And you're like, yes, just stay the course.
That's right. That's
So
right.
yeah,
You're like, how are
just
you getting
trusting.
different results
Yeah.
this prep? I'm like, it's not that different.
Yeah.
Same
So
thing.
it's a lot of trusting the process and consistency
Mhm.
and just showing up for yourself. You know, I know you post often about not feeling like going to the gym, and there's days where I'm so busy, and you know, there's some days where I push it off till the end of the day because I literally have no other option. And sometimes I go out to my garage gym and I puss out after like halfway through. But I mean, it's like at least I got out there and did it.
Yep. Yep. Sometimes I cut back sets, I cut back
Yeah.
reps, but it's much better to cut back on something than to not
Mhm.
do it at all. And that was a big thing at the beginning. It was you really had to push yourself to create that space in your day, to find
Mhm.
the time. You were in the middle of a home renovation. You
Yes.
didn't have like there were people in your house all the time. You didn't have the
Yeah.
floor space. I remember that. You're like, "Can we not do floor exercises? Because I can't get down on my floor right now."
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have no floor for a
Yeah.
little while there.
My whole kitchen, the cabinets and the appliances were in the garage, so I had no room in my garage. But luckily I have a gym at work, and that's like one thing post COVID, going back to work, having the gym. I always dedicate a part of my work day to go into the gym because it's kind of like a work culture thing, so it's fine. But also, it makes me feel like this is part of my benefit for getting up and getting here today is using this like really nice gym. So
That was
yeah,
outside your comfort zone at the beginning too, right? Working in
yeah,
front of people. I remember talking about that early on.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. And I still don't really always feel like I know what I'm doing there. I'm just like, oh, doing random. I mean, I don't know if I look like I'm doing random things. I try to be good. I don't want to hurt myself, obviously. But there's people down there sometimes, but it's also turned into like a really cool, like social thing once again for me. I mean, I feel like people watching this that are introverts are going to be like, no, you don't have to probably talk to anybody at the gym or anything. I just, like I said, I'm social. But, I get to meet new people within my office, at my company that I wouldn't have otherwise
And there are
have
people
had the
who are
chance to know.
pursuing a healthy lifestyle in some
Yeah.
regard, even maybe their diet
Mhm.
isn't great. But, when we can find other people that are also on a similar journey, it does help, feel like we have a little bit more of a community. And so that you kind of built that just by creating these new habits and being in a space where other people who care about fitness are also in the space.
Right.
So I love that.
And yeah. So, I mean, the whole experience, a wild mental ride above all other things. But I mean, if you're serious about taking yourself to the next level and you just don't know how to do it, it's definitely time to find somebody who can assist you because your body is capable of doing what you want it to do. It's just finding the way to do it is the, that's the key
It's
in the
more
whole
mental,
situation.
truly. It's more
Yeah.
mental than physical. Our body will
It,
follow. If the brain tells it
yeah.
to go, it will follow. I love that.
Yes.
I think we covered a lot of the questions, but let me see. And if there's anything in particular you definitely want to make sure we mention, feel free to just jump out and say it. But let's see. We talked about some of your wins. We talked about your reservations. Um, the big social changes for sure, and the mindset. We talked a little bit about your struggle with patience and the slow progress, but this is the kind of thing, y'all, where I think it's so key that it felt slow for her the whole entire way through. It felt slow, but here she is over 20 pounds later. Like, it's not 20 pounds overnight, but it's 20 pounds over 6 months if you're consistent. And this is 20 pounds she now won't gain back. Whereas if she had lost it in 30 days, she'd probably have it all back on by now and then some. And this is the yo yo that most of us are on year after year. So slow and steady wins the race is my motto. I'm always saying. Um, let's see. Talked about some of your. Yeah, I think we covered most of this. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything else you'd want to share or any advice you have for anyone at that point in their journey where they think they might need a coach? And so maybe what to consider when you're getting ready to work with someone one on one.
So I would say to really look for somebody who is in line with your personal ethos in a way, somebody who does the things that you want to do already, somebody who's living a lifestyle that you want, especially if you're a keto person or a carnivore. Because there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of people that flat out are just like carb deniers, or, like they just don't want to say that there's no value to a low carb diet, or, yes, you can lose weight, any carbs, but, and I think talking about this for me, I can't control myself with carbs. So it's not so much I don't think you could lose weight and eat carbs. It's just for me, I can't control how many carbs I eat. I'm not satisfied with one serving of rice or one piece of bread a day. So, yeah, just finding somebody who can, you know, give you recommendations on the diet that you're doing, and then somebody who, is basically doing what you're doing. I wanted to wear a bikini. She wears a bikini. That was like pretty simple. Like I was like, yes, like I don't know what to do anymore. But and then trust the process. When I started with Natalie, I just completely just said, I no longer know what I'm doing. And I let her tell me what to do. And even if I felt like my initial knee-jerk reaction was to challenge what she was saying, I didn't. I just like let it go and I did what she asked me to do, because it's just like I was so desperate and I just knew that I couldn't do what I was doing anymore. So I had to like lean into somebody who had more understanding about it than I did. So that's a big thing, just
Trust was
trust the
amazing.
process. Yeah.
Trust the
And
process,
be
trust the coach.
consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust your coach. And that's why it's so important. The first part of what I was saying, to find somebody that's totally in line with your values and the lifestyle that you want, because when you commit to this process, you're letting this person come to your life and drive a big portion of like who you're going to become,
Mm, that's beautiful.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so it's really important to me to, have that kind of relationship. And Natalie's super positive and she's a good mental coach. Like she calls herself a life coach. And yeah, you're a life coach, because it was not all about the diet and exercise. It was a lot of mental, gymnastics, trying to figure out how to get me. But I mean, we got there. So that's
Absolutely.
exciting,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you went all in, all in. And you know what? That brought up another question actually when you brought up the diet. Um, Sometimes people are afraid to get a coach because they are afraid, or even looking at me and they're like, oh, she's a carnivore. Is she going to make me go carnivore? Right? Did I make you go
Mhm.
carnivore?
No. Yeah, no. We talked, one of the first things we actually talked about was, I told you I eventually would like to have a little more like mobility. I would like to be able to, like, every once in a while eat carbs. And, but I'm happy not eating carbs. Like for me, my energy level, there's just so many reasons why I could never go back to that lifestyle. It's beyond like weight at this point. But yeah, you never like said like, oh, you have to do this. Actually, I drove my own like food diary from the beginning. Um, and you gave me the macros,
Mhm.
which, was a big question mark for me for sure on once I started getting more physical. And yeah, and you never like you would tell me things, and like as the evolution, like I started like eliminating like seed and flour oils and making more healthy choices. But yeah, I didn't ever have to make any changes I wasn't personally comfortable with.
That's right. Yeah, she really is. And you're a great example of one of my clients who really has a great variety in your diet, and you love the foods you cook, and you had all kinds of
Yes.
recipes, and it was all about really making this a lifestyle that you could commit to for the rest of your life. And we did. You did have moments of going on this trip and having a glass of wine, or having this
But
small amount of something, corn chips or whatever it might be along
yeah.
the way. And
Yes.
we always
Those
navigated
are the two
that.
things.
right? We always
Mhm.
navigated that. And that's a key to being honest with your coach, not trying to hide things from your coach. Like you were 100% with me all the time. And then I could always be transparent with you about what needed to happen next, or little challenges I would give you, like taking out dairy, which you were a
Yes.
trooper. And I didn't make you do that like right off the bat either, but it was a, you know what, why don't we try this? And then you were open to that. We
Mhm.
give that a shot. And then you're like, you know what, I think I want to put this back in. But then you took the things that worked for you and you ran with it. Like your coffee.
Yeah,
That was a huge
yeah,
shift you made there.
yeah. I changed my coffee. I think I told you, like, I don't always want to track my food. Like at the beginning, I just didn't always want to have to track my food. But now, like, I find tracking my food so empowering. Like, I love it. I can't even imagine not tracking my food anymore at this point. And I know that sounds like probably super bizarre to most people. I just love knowing what I'm going to eat. It makes me feel so like in control of my day. And there's nothing worse than being at home and just like trying to piece together like what you're going to eat. Um, and as long as you're planning, you can't fail. Like,
Uh,
you know?
that right there, there's another statement. As long as
Yeah.
you're planning, you can't fail. I love that.
Yeah. So, like, and that's how I feel. And so it's like kind of my safety net. And maybe it's like one of these super like A type things that I'm doing, but it's something that I can control and implement. And it's like one of the keys for success, I would say. And,
It takes a little getting
intuitive eating
used
kind of got me into my predicament.
to.
So,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I
yeah.
can tell.
Yeah. My intuition is just eat as much of something I like as I can. So I don't want to like rely on my intuition
And that's
about
a really
eating.
important point to make, is that many of us, when we've been dieting on and off for years, we have no intuition left into what our body's actually telling us and what it actually wants and when it wants to stop eating. So a lot of the time, we can't just jump from yo-yo dieting into intuitive eating. We actually need to be guided for a while into how to listen to our body, how to understand what our body is craving. And we did some of that along the way as well. And you did a lot of, we did experimenting with, okay, how many meals a day and how large is each meal going to
Mhm.
be and meal timing and all of these little things to optimize your life so that you could truly own your journey and understand, what's going on with your body at any particular time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just been a complete evolution. And like, really, if you think about all the things that we were able to kind of dive into, it's a lot. Like, over 6 months, I feel like complete transformation
Ah,
from where I was. So,
that tugs at my
yeah.
heartstrings. I think on our final call, you said, "You
Yeah.
changed my life." You said, "No, no, you've helped me change my life." And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
it's all about."
Yeah. And that was one of my hesitancies. I didn't want to throw money at the problem. Like, so when I was thinking about signing up with you, it was like a financial commitment, obviously.
Mhm.
But I wanted to make sure that I was not just like, oh, I'm going to pay Natalie this amount and it's going to be like magic and I'm going to be thin, because that's not the case. You're not just going to be thin. You have to, you know, work for your results and be serious and show up for yourself. But I mean, I can 100% say that you've always shown up for me when I needed you to. So that support, it was well worth like the financial investment. And also it's well worth the time investment because my time is worth something, also.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's
Absolutely.
no dollar value on my time, but anything I've put into it has now, I could say it's worth it 6 months later. So, but if you don't ever let yourself get to that point to say that 6 months later, you're ripping yourself off.
That's powerful right there.
Yeah.
There's our ending statement right there. You
Yeah.
showed up, you invested in yourself financially and with your time and with your commitment, and you're bearing the fruits of that now. Your whole life has changed. You love fitness on a different level, building muscle, and you're continuing on your journey and seeking that next level. And I just can't wait to see where you go. I'll be still alongside you for your journey, and I can't wait for the next chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please
And then just one
impact with
last thing.
words.
I'm not extraordinary, right? Anybody can do this. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And I mean, I think you would probably say the same. It's not just like because, oh, this is Marie or that's Natalie, like if you want it enough, you can make it happen.
Ah, yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. Ladies, you heard it from a full-time working mom of boys, teenage boys.
Mhm.
If she can do it, you
Yes.
can do it. And she just turned 40 and she's going to be in the best shape of her life in her 40s.
Yeah.
Probably already feel that way, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Marie. I'm so glad you
Yeah,
came on here
thank you.
with my
Yes,
community.
thank
And y'all, she is in the community. If you're not in the community yet, you can come join us on Facebook in Keto Bikini Secrets group. Search us out there and join the tribe. We would love to have you.